morning, and thank you so much for joining me today. I am Dr. Joshua Kolawole, and this is our monthly webinar from Valdymas Intelligence. I want to appreciate everyone who are taking time to join pretty early, and I know others will join, others will watch this on YouTube and other social media platforms. Thank you so much for believing in Valdymas Intelligence, and today we're talking about true wealth creation. Rethinking the concept of money, meaning, and fulfillment. And I would like you to go along with me. I'll try as much as possible within the 1 hour we have to give some practical explanation. This is going to be the first part, which is a more strategic part of the discussion. Next month, we would have the tactical part, which would drill down to the 3 feet, if today is like the 33,000 feet level. I was in a conversation many years ago, and someone told me that if you have the option to choose between money and the capacity to generate the money, for example, let's say you have the capacity to make $1 million and or just get $1 million directly, which one would you choose? And just a couple of minutes ago too, I was in a conversation with my son, and he was telling me about reading something on the screen where he says, if you have the option to choose between wealth and wisdom, which one would you choose? And he said he clicked on wisdom, and the understanding he got is that wisdom has the capacity to even generate the money. But I added one more point for him, because you see, wealth is a defense. Wisdom is also a defense. But the excellence of wisdom above wealth is that wisdom will preserve the life and the livelihood of whoever has it. So wisdom might take a while before it generates wealth for you. It takes time. It takes you to sync up with some stakeholders before it generates wealth. But and that time, that impatience is one of the key challenges of humans, right? So I want us to understand that whatever we'll be discussing today is something that would transform not at an individual level, a family level, a social level, or global level. So wealth is not what you have, but who you become in the process of gaining it. So that's the quality of power, the quality of wisdom, the quality of love that surrounds your life, the capacity to have faith to become better. Those are the key things that actually distinguish the people who go through the process of gaining wealth as against those who just want the quick, that quick money, die trying kind of scheme. I want us to see something today, that life is not for what you can earn, but for the fulfillment of what you're sent to do. So the first idea is everyone must understand that you're here for a purpose. You must understand what your transgenerational purpose is. A lot of people come into the world, they don't understand their positioning along their generational chain. And if you don't understand that concept, then it puts you under a lot more pressure. So if you get it that a generation will come and might actually be the wealth building generation, some generation will come and scale the wealth to another dimension. Another generation will come and preserve the wealth, or maybe expand it as well. So there's this concept of money maker, money spender, and money waster kind of generation, where you have 3 generations, where the first generation makes money, the second generation spends the money, and the third generation comes to waste the money. And it's been said that bad times create great leaders. Great leaders in turn create weak minds. Weak minds eventually turn out to create bad times again. And that the world is based on that cycle. But we've seen, and I've seen clearly in developed nations, where people are able to preserve wealth over generations. So it means if you manage the dynasty well, if you insert the principles of wisdom and understanding of great wealth, you will be able to build something. But one important thing you must get is that true wealth is measured by the number of lives you touched, not the numbers in your account. the number of lives you touch. So when we understand this balance, then I can go into the conversation further. So I'm going to talk about the concept of rethinking the dynamics of money, traditional wealth, and I would try to create some paradoxes that has been around for a couple of for generations now. But the first, there are some key questions I would like you to ask yourself or to know. The first one is wealth merely the accumulation of money, or something far more profound? Money as a tool, or you see money as a goal that you want to achieve? Because if money seems to be a goal for you, then you'll break a lot of principles in the process of becoming wealthy. But if you see it as a tool to impact lives, to turn things around, then the dynamics would be different. So is wealth merely the accumulation of money, or something deeper than that, more profound, more connected to your soul, more connected to your life? Another key thing that always strikes me a lot is when people organize their life around money. I've had people said it's money, it's money, it's money. As against organizing your life around a mission, what you intend to do, what system you intend to impact. How many kids do you want to turn or put a smile on their faces today, this week, this year? What legacy are you building beyond your income? Because the quick thing people would say is that income is not even enough. We're going to get to that when we get more into the tactical dynamics, but I will still explain something at this strategic level. And this is a good question for you if you're listening to me. If you audit your life today, would you ask yourself, are you wealthy in the things that matters? Are you that kind of person that brings joy, that brings hope, that brings healthy self-esteem, that brings excellence to people? When someone meets you, does it change any orientation about them? Does it improve the capacity they've been carrying? Do they start seeing life in a different way? Are you wealthy in those things? Or what you think wealth would be is just the tangible material, the ability to buy that car, to own that building, to buy that land. As good and great as those tangible assets are, I also want you to see another dimension to balance the intangible part of wealth. So wealth is not what you have, but who you become in the process of gaining it. Now, the paradox with money is that money is a terrible master, but it's an excellent servant. If you allow money to control or to rule over you, or especially the pursuit of money, if you allow the pursuit of wealth to rule over you, then you will trade off your soul for it. It's as simple as that. You trade off your peace, your joy, your righteousness, the excellence of thinking that you're supposed to have. You will definitely trade it off for accumulation of wealth. So the first balance I need you to create in your mind as you're listening to me today is you need to find that excellent position for peace and stability in your soul. It's the concept of maturity, the ability to understand that who I become is far more important than what I do and what I have. And when I become a better person, I will be able to do better and I will be able to become better. So what are the things I need to inculcate into my soul such that I become a better person over time and I have that stability, that emotional stability to be able to do better and then have what is better. And the more you become better in having, the more stable you should become. I heard about the story of someone who first had a certain amount of money maybe transferred into his account, and he went outside and said, where are all these kids? And he gathered them together and he just wants to start displaying wealth. When a little amount enters into your account and he topples your stability and he start making you insult people, override people's choices, people's options, then you're truly not wealthy, or let me say you're not wise and wealthy, if I could put it that way. So, and what would in turn come about is it becomes a burden on your soul. And over time, I can promise that kind of person, that burden will force them to come to the level of wealth that their soul can manage. So financial stress will destroy other forms of wealth. So the pursuit of money without purpose often leads to emptiness, and money amplifies who you are already. Money does not create character. So I want to rupture the concept of, if I become wealthier, I will give more. Or the concept of just test me with #1,000,000. No, the 100,000 naira, the $10,000, the 5 million of whatever currency you have, maybe Rwandese franc, just name any currency, the 5,000 Canadian dollars, the one you have currently with you. How have you apportioned it? What are you doing with it? Are you investing in a better understanding of this world, a better understanding in your career, in your field? Are you impacting people's life with it? I heard about the story of a young man who had the opportunity to meet Warren Buffett, and he asked him that, so sir, if I have $10,000 today, what stock do you expect me to put the money into? What do you expect me to invest that money into? And it was said that Warren looked at him and said, I would expect you to invest the whole $10,000 into your mind. That I'm sure if you invest it into your mind, it will definitely make you a better person, and you will be able to create better value for the society. So the goal is, when you invest money into something that will give you a better character, the process of going through structured learning system like a school is that it builds a new character routine for you. Going into some trainings, organizing some functions, co-collaborating, co-creating, building an organization. When you do stuff like this, it helps to build character in you. The process of doing it, the process of going through that training, that educational organization, going through a form of systems or structure, submitting yourself to servanthood or serving people, all these things create a character value in you. If they give you money, it will not create a character. Money amplifies who you are already. So when wealth is given to you, you would actually demonstrate that key feature in you that you probably don't even know. And you know, they say power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. I need you to know that there are two dimensions of power. There's the political power and the economic power. So finances can be like the economic power. And you know, a more advanced conversation with the statement power corrupts is that power reveals. Absolute power reveals absolutely. So the truth is, when wealth comes into your hand, then it reveals who you are truly deep within your mind. So there's a crisis amongst especially the teeming youthful population in this generation. I was also listening to the platform for the June 12th special edition with Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, explaining the depth of evil that has gone into the society, where people just want crown without cross. They want to achieve great wealth without putting in the years, the rigorous years of working it out. And people just want to make money at the turn of every event. And this had actually made them patronize some different kinds of schemes, different kinds of people, different kinds of ritual stuff. And people prefer to even live in the woods, in the rural places, just to do evil in order to make money, hence leading to several criminal activity. Now, this wrong mindset is driving a lot of things in our society. People want the arrival fallacy. They just want to show up, and people will just hail them and believe that, okay, this is the rich men of our time. They do not want to fundamentally understand that wealth has principles. Wealth has principles that comes without sorrow. So, success without satisfaction is what's leading to rising depression, even amongst high-income earners, because the pressure they get from those get-rich-quick people makes the people who wants to rigorously do the work go into depression, because they feel sad that I do all this work rigorously, but look at this youngster who is actually making more money. And that leads that comparative analysis even though not verbalized by many people, leads to a lot of depression around. The second mindset is, of course, I've spoken about this. People just want to get rich without due process. The other one is, even for the many who you see around you who are rich in finance, a lot of them are poor in spirit and poor in impact. Because the idea is, when what you set out to do is to pursue money, to pursue asset, or to pursue status, then that's a wrong mindset to start with. The best thing is to have a clear mission of, who are the people, what do I want to impact? The people who will be the greatest, if you listen to one of my videos, would be those who can carve a message of transformation, create a product or a service that fits in with that message of transformation, and create a platform for people to collaborate together. Three things: carve an excellent message first, and that will come with wisdom. The second one is, you want to create a product or a service that does that thing more excellently well. And then the third one is, create a platform where people can collaborate around that message, around that product and services, and you will find yourself doing exceedingly great. Then the next thing is, when the idea about success is success that is measured in net worth. I'm sure you've heard about Bill Gates saying between now and the year 2045, he wants to distribute almost all his wealth, especially to resolve issues across developing nations. That is a right mindset, a right approach to handling money, and not having money control you. The media, I know, glorifies materialism. We have the music industry always trying to show very high, expensive materials in the bid of making their videos very superior, making their songs superior, demonstrating wealth. People even contend about the amount of wealth each musician have, and they show it off using their cars. Even politicians do the same thing. Can I shock you? Even religious leaders are now doing the same thing. The people who are supposed to set the pain of discipline are actually using wealth to cast a whole lot of pressure on people. Now, if you acquire a possession based on need, that is not wrong. But if you acquire in excess of what you need it for, then it becomes not appropriate, because the pressure you generate on the society also leads to a cycle of putting pressure on weak minds to want to become very rich quickly. And this in turn creates a cycle of criminals in the society. Now, when you look at people don't want to miss out of what is going on, and because of this pressure, it leads to bad decisions. People are not able to stay steady again, to buy time to become who they are supposed to be, because you actually came here to fulfill a purpose. And if you generate too much pressure on yourself based on what you see around you, you actually get distracted from your purpose. And ultimately, when others, even when you become rich in finance, I doubt if you would have that excellence in your spirit to be satisfied, to become fulfilled. Another major issue is the concept of self-doubt, lack of clarity on values, which leads to overemphasis on external validation. You see, we live in a society that validates people who just shows up in great wealth. No one wants to clearly analyze what are the values that this person had actually put in place. So you will see intelligent minds look out for values in rich people. You will see weak minds look out for the amount of material possession the person is showing off. So the reason why people who are wise keep quiet a lot is that they analyze what are the values that led to this wealth, because that is actually what matters. That is what makes it reproducible, sustainable, brings the peace, the joy, the stability, the scalability. Weak minds who are socialized minds would actually focus on the cars, the clothing, the gold, the expensive rare earth metals that are being put on, the external adornment, while intelligent people would focus more on what's the quality of knowledge, what are the distinguishing factors, what are the things this guy had done differently that led to this form of expertise, that led to this form of intellectual analysis? What are the investments this guy had made to become who they became? So the result of this crisis is that it leads to burnout, it leads to emptiness, a lot of imbalance in people, a lot of depression. In fact, it has pushed so many people to dangerous lifestyles. A lot are incarcerated in jails globally because of several attempts, and in nations where they terminate people, a lot of people had actually been executed simply because of criminal activities, and which you could trace back to the place of this wrong view of wealth. And ultimately, well, I've spoken about that. So I want to create a balance between traditional wealth and what you should focus on as it regards true wealth, because it is actually true riches that makes you truly wealthy. Traditional riches, as good as they may appear, they are not the excellent indicator of wealth. The excellent indicator of wealth is great health, excellent relationship, and the best of experiences. But what people would call wealth is financial asset and possession. So that means I could live in the remotest village in Japan. I could live in the hills of Venezuela. I could be beside the ocean, 10,000 miles away, somewhere beside the Atlantic. The most important goal for me is that I have excellent health. That is, I pay attention to my physical well-being. Of course, the whole concept of health is not just mere absence of infirmity, but a complete state of physical, social, and mental well-being, and especially the capacity to lead a socio-economically productive life. If I'm able to do that with great relationship and experiences around me, that is way more important. So you avoid smoking, you avoid taking drugs, you avoid medications that are not prescribed or properly prescribed or well adjusted to age. You regulate diet, you ensure you engage in more physical exercises to maintain great health, to build better relationships, to have great experiences among people. The other thing is, instead of showing up with things that will show your status, luxury goods, why not prioritize personal growth and wisdom? Why not prioritize purpose, influence, and contribution? Why not prioritize your inner peace and contentment instead of wanting to get that external validation from the people? And then these external validations are short-lived. It leads to a short-term gratification, and over time, people discover that you are actually empty. You're truly empty because you have not invested in yourself. And what can lead to sustainable fulfillment is for you to continuously grow, continuously increase, develop, continuously expand your knowledge base, your network, continuously engage in things that would enlarge the quality of life that you would have. So I have 5 mindsets or 5 model that I want to really elaborate upon, because the first thing starts with how you think and how you learn. Every form of change starts with learning and thinking. If you're able to learn differently, and that's the essence of a webinar like this, if you're able to learn differently, you're able to start thinking differently, and gradually it alters how you see things, it alters what you hear. Because when 2 of us actually sit in a place and we're observing an environment, you will be surprised when you're asked to summarize and people will say something different about the same scenario. They've sent 3 thoroughbred professionals into a building before, and the 3 of them came out with different analysis. One of them was a doctor, the other one is a structural engineer, and I think the 3rd person is a lawyer. And what they came out with was just completely different. The doctor was seeing a facility that would make well for his own healthcare establishment. The structural engineer saw all the cracks and the angular deviations in the building. He saw the shear stress on the building foundation. And it was surprising that the lawyer also saw something differently, completely different. 3 people, 3 different mindsets because of their learning and the way they think. So everywhere you go, every institution you enroll yourself in, every organization you work for or work in, is actually trying to change what you're learning and how you're thinking. And that is why it is your sole responsibility to ensure that if you're in an organization that is not given to continuous growth and permanent personal development, then the responsibility boils down on you solely to ensure you're continuously growing yourself. If you're fortunate to have an organization that is a learning organization, and I want to implore every one of us to ensure that in your environment, create a learning system. In your family, in your thing, year on year, you must be learning something differently. You should be doing something differently. You must be carving out something differently. When you continuously set that target, I must have this certification this year. I must belong to this association this year. I must attend this conference this year. You must change how your approach to learning is. When you learn, a secondary advantage you don't pay attention to is that you're also changing your network. Because if let's say I enroll for a PhD now or a DRPH, I would actually have to go to school with a new set of people. Those new set of people will come from different places globally. Now, in most training institutions, you would have group works done together. So in those group works, everybody gets to know themselves. When you create a learning system, people would interact. You will read other people's mind, the way they reason. You will be able to all adjust things in your own mind. You will be able to hold 3-4 contemplations together without leaning on one until you find a well-bred, thoroughbred principle that will allow you to pick one out of the 3 or 4 contemplations. So when you see or analyze things this way, you would understand that the concept of learning and thinking is actually the fundamentals of this world. If you really want to change your world, then invest in knowledge, and which ultimately, with better understanding, becomes wisdom. Always ensure that what you're doing is a mission-driven analysis. Always align the work you do with your calling, your gifting, your purpose. Then one other thing I need you to start seeing from today: do not worship anyone who flaunts wealth. Do not let them use that external demonstration of wealth. Do not let it get into you to make you get under pressure. Money is to be used, not to be worshipped. And ultimately, we talk about meaning and the capacity to scale the meaning of what you're doing. If you start something today and you say, okay, my goal is that young mind on the road in my street, I would make sure I give that young boy food every Saturday morning. That might be just your purpose. Now you can scale it by increasing it to 2 young boys or young ladies. I would support 1 person. With time, when you have better capacity, make it 2. That's the essence of multiplication and legacy. But start with 1. Start with as low as 500 naira, $10, $5. Support someone's dream. Even out of that little income you think you do not have. So, I would talk about the 4 critical pillars of true wealth. True wealth is a blend of financial stability, meaningful purpose, and personal fulfillment. And I want to shock you that no matter how you analyze it, people would always say, even what I earn is not enough. And I tell them, it's actually a perception. It's a perspective. If you actually flip it to the other side and imagine yourself 5 years ago when you don't even earn up to that amount and you were still happy. So it means you're actually trading off your soul for wealth if you start thinking that way. So money is a tool for freedom, for security, to build opportunity. It is not an end goal. I think like a year or 2 years ago, I was actually taking a walk. I had a landlord then, and we're actually discussing. Of course, it's an American, and he asked me the critical question: how much exactly are you actually pursuing? And I said, great question. Because the real deal about life is that if you're not careful, you may not be able to pinpoint the exact amount you're actually chasing. And if you don't balance it with wisdom, you would always think, if I get that next amount, that's what will bring me joy. But go and ask the people at that level of amount. In fact, you'll be so surprised, some of them might reach out to you that you should still loan them more money. So I want to help you understand that the goal is within you. It is not about outside you. And whatever I'm saying today, it will be challenged. Life would move so hardly on you, but it will require you to have that emotional stability to be able to respond appropriately. So understand that your goal should be to build meaningful relationship, community connection, and ability to contribute to your society. So if you have knowledge, contribute that knowledge to your society. When you contribute it consistently enough, it will create a network of people around you that will be able to power you. And you will not be able to do that if you don't invest in your own human capital, in your skill, in your knowledge, in your personal development. Also understand that every human yearns to connect to something or someone greater than them, to a God. And that's what brings inner peace and purpose to every human. So when you integrate this together, you would understand that you're not just showing up on earth and being alive for a time such as this, just for yourself alone. And I love the motto of one of the schools I've seen around here in Texas. It says others before self. When you think about others ahead of self, that would not mean you will not take care of yourself, but it also positions the way you see the world as helping others, supporting them to achieve their goal, and in the process you become wealthier. So you are a channel to bless systems. So do not see people as just humans. Dignify them, but much more importantly, the more the number of the people you help, the better the outcomes of your life. So let me rupture a bubble that you might not be paying attention to today. And this is one of the key things that distinguished men. Barack Obama finished from Harvard, excellent guy, went into a community and started helping people get their cases resolved. For some, for free, completely free. And he was able to gather a clout of so many people, a community, a power base. That's one example. Many clerics or religious leaders do the same thing. They have a message, they carve a message, they do that, they create that message, refine it day by day, helping people, giving them hope. One of the major lessons I learned from my dad before he passed on, someone called him and he had encouraged the person, given the person a whole lot of inspiration and hope. And I looked at him and I asked him, even you needs help and you're demonstrating this. And he said, you don't know my purpose. My purpose here is to sell hope. That day something broke in me. That one of the crucial purposes you could have is actually the capacity to inspire others, even when you're going through your own pain. The ability to keep encouraging others, supporting them, inspiring them, building faith and platform for people to grow. So when you see religious leaders build a society, a community of people, invest in them continuously, over time they turn out to be wealthier than the average person in that society. So if you're a doctor and you're able to work collaboratively in your community, help people develop a better health regime or system, it's only a matter of time. You will become wealthier, more influential than an average person in that environment. It's the basic principle of wealth. But if all you earn is for you and all about you, then you will just be who you are. But when your vision starts changing and you have the ability to let go of that money, you can see a challenge in your neighborhood and you're willing to solve them. Then you're cracking something, you're breaking a code. And before you know it, because you have the capacity to identify a problem, you will start seeing more problems and then you will start solving them at scale. The more you solve them at scale, you will then start getting rewarded. Initially, not rewarded financially, but over time, the more the influence you create, the influence itself will bring the wealth. So, your spiritual capital is your purpose, your value. And those values must be protective of the young, must be supportive of the old, must be based on experiential, well-tested knowledge and principles. So do you want to truly be great? Put others ahead of self. So when we try to redefine success metrics, we talk about the concept of time freedom. I've had people say, I took on this role, even though it's lesser pay, but I have more time to contribute to what I do in my society. When I first got into the United States, I went to do some volunteering job. I volunteered 3 hours, Mondays to Wednesday, and these were prime time. I had some friends told me, did they promise you a job? Are they going to give you a job there? One day, I was driving down on the highway and I told myself, even if it doesn't result into a job, I'm willing to continue to do this, because I saw my skill being used in that environment. My knowledge was being used. Being a trained physician, I was able to help them analyze things properly, repackage it properly, and actually align things together that looks together and rearrange things for them. That's the goal. But guess what? In the bit of doing that, they noticed that I love to read books. So one day, we're sitting beside a table, and one of my friends there just came to meet me, and I saw a book on the table, and I asked him, can I pick that book? I think I'd love to read it. And he said, why not? And I picked the book. That book had revolutionized my thinking and had broken a lot of barrier, helped me to connect a lot of things together, brought a whole lot of clarity into even my own personal purpose in life. I went to volunteer, thinking maybe, perhaps, hopefully someday it might lead to a job or lead to anything. But what I went to pick in that place was a book. Now, even beyond that day, many cartons of books were given to me, but one book stood out. So if I wanted to summarize my experience for volunteering for more than a year, I would say I went there to pick a book. The book had changed what I do, who I am today. So I want you to know that a lot of time, it's not just about the income, it's about the capacity to even have that freedom of time. Then the quality of relationship I built there. I got a recommendation letter from one of the leaders there. I read that letter, and I kept asking myself, is this man actually describing me? The number of years of productive living is actually a success metric. The capacity to continuously develop yourself is a success metric. The impact, the legacy, the positive influence that you have on others in your society, and most importantly, your inner peace. Please, for whatever is what, your inner peace is the greatest wealth on earth. On this planet, ensure you do things in a righteous way. When you wrong someone, find time to apologize. Do not keep going with a wrong mindset. When you notice you have wronged someone, apologize. When you're cheating someone, stop it. Because what you don't know is that you think you're cheating the person and making that money. But what you're doing is you're actually destroying your soul. You're destroying the stability and the peace in your soul. So when a doctor cheats a patient, when a teacher cheats a student, and you do it consistently, and you do not deem it fit to go back, apologize, and find a way to redeem yourself. When a husband cheats a wife, when a wife cheats a husband, and you don't want to find a way to rebalance the equilibrium, you will think you're getting ahead or getting by. When you in a family think you're cheating your sibling, you will think you're getting by. When you try to displace another person or destroy another person's home, you will think you're getting by. But it's only a matter of time. It will become evident that you are losing your mental and emotional well-being. And before you know it, that lack of discipline and character in that area would infiltrate into other areas of your life and start destroying what you do. So do you want to live long, live healthy? Then do things right. Be willing to go through the due process. Push yourself. Now, I brought the wealth equation, which I said would break down further in next month. But I want you to know that there are two ways you will look at things. I know it's easier for people to just want to look at the financial wealth equation, and that's why I brought that. That one says when you have high income, low expenses, and you have smart investment, you'll be financially wealthy. So everyone in a capitalist economy where I live now pursues the high income. But what they realized after a while is when you pursue high income, then it becomes very difficult to keep your expenses low. Because you have actually not trained yourself to be a person of character. To say, this is the limit I am going, and beyond this, I'm not doing anything. High income, low expenses, and then smart investment. And then to put yourself under pressure to say, if I'm doing the 50-30-20 rule, 20 into investment, or 20 into giving, 30 into investment, 50 into expenses. So even if I earn $10, $5 go into all my expenses, 30 goes into investment in my capacity development, into myself, into stocks, into real estate, into different kinds of assets, 20 goes into giving to other systems. I mean complete giving, releasing the money. Give to parents, give to people, make people happy, touch lives, influence your society. It's impossible for some people to fail because of the seeds they have on ground in people. And that at any point where they ever need help, you will be surprised at the number of people who will rise up to support them, who will speak for them because of the wealth they have released. And some people talk about the 60-30-10 principle, 10 to giving, 30 to investing in yourself, 60 to your expenses. Some people are talking about the 70-20-10. So there are different kinds of mathematical formula depending on what phase of life you are, how much you can put pressure on yourself to become. And I just wanted to touch on that because for some of us that might be young, building system, building families, you need to ensure you have a formula for wealth formulation. In the United States, one of the 5 cardinal pillars that formed the United States, and I was surprised when I discovered that China also had 3 cardinal principles, Japan had, Switzerland had, Singapore had. I was surprised. So even nations have standardized principles for becoming wealthy. So if you're living your life without a strategic formula for becoming wealthy, then you're living a dangerous life. Every great institution, great organization, and person have what we call a strategic formula for wealth formulation. I'd met with a consultant who is now a professor now many years ago, and he said myself and my wife had proposed in our heart that we will never do things like this. These are the things we would hold on to. You must have a formula, a standardized thing you're holding on to become wealthy, a formula you're following. So are you, and every time I reanalyze it every month. Just today I had the point to sit down with my Excel. I have an online Excel created for how I distribute my funds, income, and everything monthly. I try as much as possible to reduce my debt, increase my income, balance things together, and increase my investment. And more so, investment into my person. Trainings, development, capacity development, attending programs, which changes the network of the people you meet. So, the other way I want you to see the formula for wealth is, what's your purpose? What's the impact you're trying to become? How free do you want to be? And what are the meaningful relationships you want to get? If you're able to integrate these 4 together, you would definitely become wealthy. And let me tell you one thing, you start getting separated from among the fold gradually. The people you grew up with, you start seeing the gap between you and your family member. And immediately that gap starts showing, there will be reactions. They'll properly speak against you. They'll say you are arrogant. They would insult you, but don't worry, you're getting separated. You will actually be separated. Now, the balance is that you will now have to make conscious effort to still keep them as friends, but you would ensure that their mindset does not weaken you. The mindset does not draw you down, but you are separating yourself intellectually. You're separating yourself in the way you learn, in the way you think. And that's why you can't constantly expose yourself to the same teacher. You must have other teachers. So you can't have a single source of learning. And that's why university system will not allow only one professor to give you a degree. That's why you won't even you will have courses taken in other fields. You will be doing something in public health and they would ask you to do statistics. You will do epidemiology. You will do you'd have to what the concept of borrowed courses, right? Or the core courses and other courses. Because learning has to be across board and integrated together. Now, fulfillment through fruitfulness. The goal about fulfillment is that everyone gets happy when you're able to help someone, especially genuinely. But one quick question I want you to know is that before we talk about fruit, there's something that comes before a fruit. It's the seed. Between the seed and the fruit is a tree. For that tree to grow to maturation, there is time needed. So everything you do today is a seed. I hear people joke about, I dropped money yesterday and next morning someone gave me a certain amount of money. The one you dropped last night was just a seed. That is not the one that brought the money you got this morning. The one you got this morning was probably a seed you have sown many years ago. Let no one deceive you. Anyone who preaches that drop something now and you see an instant miracle in few days is actually not helping your soul. Is actually destroying a moral fabric in you. The standard process of life is seed, time, and harvest. It takes time for a seed to grow to a tree and become a fruit. So whatever miraculous or magical manifestation you've had in the past, they were just a product of a seed that were many years ago. In fact, some of us are actually getting the fruit of the seed our parents or grandparents had sown. So when you think about that magical things and say, okay, I dropped money for someone and I passed an exam, you had actually sown seed to pass the exam. It's not the money. Because if we don't break all this cycle, a friend accosted me a couple of years ago and said, let's just help this person out quickly, rushingly, donate this amount, huge amount, and within the next 7 days you just see the miracles God will do. I walked out of that conversation because I knew that is not the right principle. There's always a seed, time, and harvest. So anytime you sow a seed, don't expect returns immediately. In fact, the longer it takes, the more valuable the result is. Annual crops and perennial crops, if you compare them, the value the world placed on perennial crop is higher, way higher than annual crops. So your fruit, what fruit are you producing in your lives, in your community, and what legacy are you pursuing? The wealthiest people, they leave behind changed lives, not just bank statement. As I'm trying to wrap up now, I want you to know that there's concept of aligning your financial goals around value and around your purpose. You must balance and distribute your time and energy across all the 4 pillars of wealth that we had mentioned earlier. Think about contribution always, and please, day by day, grow yourself. Learn something daily. Read something daily. Become better daily. I do not think much of a man who is not better today than he was yesterday. That's Lincoln. I do not think much of a man who is not better today than he was yesterday. That means if I meet you tomorrow, I expect you to be wiser. If I meet you the day after tomorrow, I expect you to be wiser than when I met you yesterday. Please always continuously evolve. I also just thought about, this is just a practical base, please manage your funds with a budget. Let there be priorities. There should be values you prioritize, the things you prioritize. Your school fees, your education or training fee should be a priority for you. Don't live a year without improving your academic or training credential, or not going for a conference, a great seminar, an inaugural lecture. Be excited about learning. Be excited about great thinkers. Be excited to position yourself amongst network of people who are making changes, reasoning, building things, analyzing things. And when you have programs like the platform, several other conferences that you can even attend from the comfort of your home or on the comfort of your mobile phone, then it makes it more excellent. YouTube is the world's greatest university. I keep saying that. You will learn every skill you can imagine on YouTube, just with hours of sitting down and just looking at it on your screen. And then if you have the advantage of practicing, then you start practicing it. There's nothing, how to speak, how to become better. I used to have this code called LTSS. If you want to be very great in life, master LTSS. Master the art of learning, master the art of thinking, master the art of speaking, and master the art of scripting, writing things. LTSS. If you want to become very great in life, master the art of learning, master the art of thinking, master the art of speaking, and then master the art of scripting, writing. If you can write excellently well, then you become a dangerous person in the society, because you can write a public opinion, an opinion head, and that will change the mindset of thousands and tens of thousands of people in your society. If you can speak excellently well, and you're bold and courageous, and you can speak with wisdom, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. The reason why the world does not resonate well with you is because when you open your mouth, they do not see what to resonate with. How do you become that person? Go back to learning, go back to thinking, and then you will speak well and you will script well. And when you follow that sequence, you become one of the most dangerous people in your neighborhood. And you start separating yourself. So don't forget that skill development, investing in your health, investing in passive income. Try and invest in other people's company. It would help you become great. I told a friend a couple of days ago, just pay attention to what great minds are doing. Pattern yourself. Once it resonates with you, pattern yourself after it. I heard about a great man who bought some billions of shares of a company. And I said, okay, why would he do this huge investment? He must have seen something. Even though I'm not seeing exactly that, then can I pattern my own model after him as well? If you are able to follow after the footstep of great minds, it's only a matter of time you will start seeing greatness in your own environment too. Make sure you have regular charitable giving and volunteering. Volunteer your time. And that's why when you walk in a place and you just want to close at the exact time they close in that place, you're probably not going to become great, even to your own personal life. When you see, I've been blessed with leaders who walk around the clock, who work at different times. So it has helped me as a young mind to even break the idea of walking between a certain time to a certain time and running away. I constantly have my phone activated for all my work emails and everything. If I see it's an essential thing, I respond immediately. I don't wait till tomorrow morning. I make sure I also prioritize. As much as I have my own thing to prioritize, I also prioritize other people's stuff. And I know the importance of responding on time, responding quickly, making sure that thing gets done. I had some tasks to achieve yesterday. I made sure I got a confirmation of it being executed before logging off. That is how to do work. You are not paid to make excuses at work. You are paid to solve problem. So when you're on a job, solve problem and solve it excellently well. As you're doing it, you think you're doing it for the company. You're actually doing it for yourself. The more you do it excellently well for the company, the more you become a better person. And you will see in your life too, when a problem shows up, you will diligently tackle it and solve it excellently well. And before you know it, you start distinguishing yourself. There will be a gap between you and those people around you. You will lose many friends with what I just explained to you, but you will gain newer friends. And always take time for mindful consumption, conscious spending decisions aligned with value. Now, I want you, please don't fall into this trap, comparison trap, measuring your success against others. Please don't fall into that. I am Joshua Kolawole, and I came into this world to be that. You would have your own name, your own lane, your own purpose. We are not on an 100-meter track or a 200-meter or a marathon track together. We are on different lanes. And when I accost people and they say you're too ambitious, it looks like you're competitive, I tell them, I'm not even seeing you. I'm comparing myself with who I was yesterday. So my goal is I am pursuing something different in my mind. So when you think I'm competing with you, you're just joking, because you're not on my lane. We're not on the same football field together, let alone seeing you. So I need you to have a life that is not comparing yourself. Measure your success against what you achieved last year, and ensure it is aligned with your personal values and goals. So someone cannot bring their own goal on mine and expect me to come and fund it. I would recheck it and rebalance it and refactor it to ensure that it actually aligns with who I am, what I've set out to be that year. So if you bring your this thing, I will push back if it doesn't align. But if it aligns well with one of the goals I have, then I would support you. And hence, you may earn a name where people will say, you only do what is on your mind. Yes, that's what you should do. What you have clarity about and what resonates well with you and with the growing version of you. I don't want you to fall into the more trap, thinking that when you have more money, you will be able to solve problems. One of the things that I learned one time is, I was watching a movie and someone says, why is it that every problem you just want to throw money into solving the problem? That it is not more money that solves the problem. It's actually wisdom that solves the problem. And that struck me deeply. So when you enter into a problem, don't start saying we need 300,000 naira or $10,000. First say, what is the wisdom we need to solve this problem? When you get the wisdom, you will be surprised that sometimes that thing you think you're even looking for, it can be given to you as a gift. You can win it in another competition. It is not everything you have to pay money to get. You can get it with the same sound wisdom, excellent personal value, and you will volunteer and someone will give it to you. And that's why volunteering is so great that you don't even know what kind of blessing can come when you're able to volunteer your time, stretch yourself beyond what is expected of you. Then the future trap is another thing I need you to be careful about. You know, people say you won't see tomorrow. Everybody says tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. As much as it's great for you to have that excellent plan for tomorrow, make sure today counts. The choices you make today, your present well-being also counts. So find that clever balance between your today, how you implement today, because it is actually today that determines tomorrow. Tomorrow is just a picture in your mind. And so get that excellent balance. And then the isolation trap. As you start getting a bit better in knowledge and wealth, there's a chance you might start getting isolated from the people. Understand that there's always a balance between that isolation and assimilation back into the community. Understanding what is still happening in your world and how you can impact your world. So, to create a true wealth plan, I need you to define your values clearly. Assess your current state based on the 4 pillars of wealth. Set holistic goals that covers financial, social, human, and spiritual capital. So don't be bankrupt spiritually and morally and be focusing on just making money. Don't be a poor someone who relates with people poorly and want to just make money off them. You must think about them. You must pray for them. You must support them. Establish habits that will build wealth in all dimensions. And then periodically assess your progress and adjust course as needed. What's the ripple effect of true wealth? A society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in. So, a good man is a man who leaves inheritance for his children and his children's children. What are you setting aside today for next generation? What are you setting, even if you don't have a kid now, what are you setting aside today for the future generation? For us to have great wealth, we need to build strong families and community, reduce inequality, sustainable economic growth, environmental stewardship, build cultural and spiritual enrichment, and leave legacy for our future generation. The real measure of wealth is how much you would be worth if you lost all your money. That's the quality of learning and thinking in your mind. The real deal is if you develop yourself to a point, even if they remove you from China and they take you to England, you will still be a success there because the blessing is now on you. It's not on the environment. The environment will just be an enabler. So true wealth creation is not abandoning financial success, but expanding our definition of prosperity to include what truly matters: our health, our relationships, our purpose, and the ability to contribute meaningfully to our world. So the journey of true wealth begins with a single step. You have to choose meaning over materialism. So please, it's time to rethink, to realign, and to create. The future belongs to those who define wealth as wholeness. I have a question in the chat. It says, how do you push back on external pressure, such as family, friends, society at large, especially when you have evolved? Because if you don't, you might end up funding their evil. Wow, this is a profound question. How do you push back? So this is the idea. I said, define clear values. It's always very difficult for people to accept you when you start creating your stand, when you start making a stand. And the reason why it's difficult for them to accept you is that a lot of them probably knew you when you were very vulnerable. In fact, some of them have video recordings, pictures of you when you were really, really vulnerable. Maybe some of them had even helped you thousands of times before. So when you start becoming great and separating yourself, it becomes very difficult for you to break such strings, because they have a lot of strings of hold on you. And this is the great idea. When you start clarifying your value and making a stand, make sure you do it not in a condescending way. Keep explaining it to them. At a point, you would actually get to an inflection point where they would actually confront you. Make sure on the day they confront you, take your stand. Beg them as much as possible that this is what I would like to do. This is what my stand would be. Try as much as possible to get 1, 2, 3 other people who probably may be matured in that environment to talk to them, to engage them about it. If they listen, excellent. If they do not, then allow them be. After a while, time will heal the wound, and they will now realize the new person you have become, and then they will be able to accept you that way. So sometimes it is not every rift between mother and child, parent and child, that should be resolved instantly. Sometimes you may need to allow time for some real understanding to happen, because some mothers and maybe fathers in some cases will want to have some hold on their child who is becoming successful, and they want to start placing demands on their investment, which is great. They invested, they paid a price, and I also want them to earn reward. But at that time, maybe the child is also in a formative year and is trying to gather things together to become greater, so that he can not only help himself but help the whole family. At those crucial points, when you try to intervene, allow time. Allow time, because when you allow time, it becomes clearer to the parent, and it also becomes clearer to the child. And that time gives the child more years to quickly evolve and become better. When it becomes better, you'll be able to demonstrate results. Because one of the greatest things that make people accept you is by the time they now see who you become. When they see that, okay, with the quality of results, quality of network this person now have, I think he has demonstrated that the values he has chosen are actually the better value. And so it will take a whole lot of wisdom and a whole lot of courage. And trust me, it will take a whole lot of humility on your side. It will take a lot of integrity. When you claim you stand for a value, make sure nothing happens and they find you wanting. Don't compromise on the value, because when you compromise, when you allow indiscipline to trickle in, then you also lose the strength of the character you're building, and ultimately you allow those people to now be able to win the argument over you. But as much as you hold on to that strong value, so start with a clear value system. Understand that the journey to greatness is a journey of wisdom, courage, humility, pursuit of excellence. And when you understand that, it will truly help you. So the idea is not about pushing back, it's about understanding the people and working with them through it. But at some point, you may have to allow space and time. You may even have to leave them. And that's the concept of people saying it's good for some people to leave their parents or their neighborhood. When you leave your neighborhood, it disconnects you from some social or cultural reigning priority in that environment, and it helps you to be able to think differently and be able to break further and become a better person. So sometimes you may need to separate even in terms of space. You may need to separate over time, and that would help each party to become better and to reevaluate who the person is and become great. I want to thank you so much Thank you so much for making time out, and hopefully would also see you next time. That will be next month, and I would be able to break down this wealth thing into a more tactical level. Maybe even doing some arithmetical calculation using some simulations with the income you earn, the things you should do, how you should integrate yourself with different systems that would help you grow financially, and also create knowledge dose for you about how to manage your health and wealth, and especially for you to connect yourself with a network of people who are doing great things. Because when you hear people's testimony, there's a way it strikes you differently. Especially when I remember I joined the society, and an elderly medical doctor walked up to me one day and said, "You don't know the advantage of what they've done for you by allowing you join this cooperative society at this early phase of your career development. This will really help you." I got to know very late. The man is late now. I respect him so much. God bless his soul and rest his soul. But I was so happy when he said stuff like that to me, and he scaled my passion and the discipline I gave to even building wealth, leveraging the cooperative society. So we'll talk more about different models that are obtainable across different nations in the world. I want to thank you. I see Dr. Ifeoluwa Odedina on the call. I see a couple of people. I don't know your name, but I want to thank you so much. Dr. Abdurrashid Tijani, thank you so much for joining. All Valdymas team, you guys are the best. Thank you for making this happen. And please, let's keep pushing higher, becoming better version of ourselves. And it's only a matter of time. We just see us scale and start scaling others. Thank you so much, and have an excellent weekend. Bye.